What's going on, guys? Chip here. Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG video. I know it has been quite a while since I've uploaded a video here on the YouTube channel, but I'm excited with the new format coming out with rotation just around the corner to get back into making some more content, hopefully for you guys. So if you do enjoy these videos, please be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to see more Pokemon TCG content, because I do plan on making a lot more videos. Like I said, I know it's been a while, but hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this. And yeah, I'm excited for post-rotation Evolving Skies right on the horizon. And this is a deck that I think is on a lot of people's radar as the potential best deck early on in the format. Well, I shouldn't say that, I guess. I think it's probably, in most people's opinion, the best deck right now, but it does lose quite a bit with the rotation. We lose things like the Gengar and Mimikyu Tag Team GX, and that is, of course, the deck being Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. So not having Gengar Mimikyu, obviously a big problem, it feels like, for the deck, something that was really solid for it. And then also Marshadow not being able to be played in this deck anymore. Losing that to rotation feels pretty bad, but otherwise, I think this deck is really still solid, and I think it's going to be a lot stronger than people are giving it credit for right now. So I wanted to run you guys through my current list. I have been testing a little bit of post-rotation. I'm actually planning to play in a 1K post-rotation tournament coming up soon at Full Grip Games. I'm excited for that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Grant and I are going to be driving up there and playing in the tournament, and also going to be playing in the Gym Leader Challenge tournament. So we might be doing some Gym Leader Challenge format stuff at some point here on this channel. If you don't know what that is, we'll probably get to it at some point. But anyway, here we go. Let's go ahead and just get into the deck profile. That's what you guys probably clicked on this video to see. It's 2 minutes in. We haven't started talking about the cards yet. Let's go ahead and do that. Talking about Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX in the post-rotation format. And we're going to start things off by looking at a 4/4 Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX line. And I'm actually playing a split here of the Shadow Rider Calyrex Vs. There is a new promo Shadow Rider Calyrex V, and I actually think this is a really good option in this format. You know, in the past, in pre-rotation, in this current standard format that we're in right now, the deck loves playing Gengar Mimikyu because it lets you shut off your opponent's ability to really do anything on their turn, and then you get another turn to just get more evolutions in play, get a bunch of energies in play. While this is obviously not as strong as that, the Cloak and Shadows attack does give us an option to at least get another energy in play, potentially, if we discard one. And I also think that this is a solid attacking option as a 2-prizer, dealing 130 damage with the Hollow Binding here for 2 Psychic and a Colorless during your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon can't retreat. So definitely something that could come up. I am still playing 1 copy of the Shadow Rider Calyrex V from the set from Chilling Reign, with, of course, Shadow Mist dealing 10 damage. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any special energy or stadium cards from their hand, and then Astral Barrage, choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and put 5 damage counters on each of them. I do think that it's correct to play some split of these cards. It might be better to play 3 of this Shadow Rider and 1 of this one just as a potential option. Maybe it's a 2-2 split, but for now, I'm going to be going with the 3-1, with 3 of them being the promo and just 1 of them being the one from the set. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are on that down below. I definitely want to hear some opinions there, and I'm down to have my mind changed. I'm not married to the idea of really any specific card in this deck for the most part. I'm down to have my mind changed, so let me know what you guys think down below. And then the star of the deck, I mean, Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. If you've been playing the game the last few months, you are very aware of what this card does. 320 HP, Psychic type VMAX Pokemon with the incredible Underworld Door ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy card from your hand to one of your benched Psychic Pokemon. If you attach energy to a Pokemon in this way, draw 2 cards, and then max Geist for 3 Psychics, 10 base damage, and then it does 30 more damage for each Psychic Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So one of the best, you know, it's the best, like, draw engine for our deck, you know, the best consistency option, and it's also one of the best attackers. But speaking of attackers, we do have another option here with the 2/2 Alcremie VMAX. Now, this is something that in the pre-rotation has kind of just been played as a 1/1 line. People have been playing the 1 Alcremie V, 1 VMAX, so that in the end game, you can just kind of come in with a Gmax Whisk and take a big knockout on a VMAX Pokemon. But I think moving into this new format, Galarian Moltres is definitely something that's going to be pretty popular as a counter to Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, and so because of that, I want to increase the count of Alcremie VMAX in the deck because that is going to be our best attacker against that card, specifically since we are weak to Metal here, as opposed to being weak to Darkness, so... Alcremie V, we got 2 of these, of course. Sugary Sprinkles, heal 30 damage from each of your benched Pokemon. Don't think that's ever going to really be too relevant. It could come up, I suppose. And then we've also got Sweet Splash for a Psychic and 2 colorless. If the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. So if our opponent in the late game is really low on switch cards, there is a chance that something like that could come up. It is unlikely, though. And then we've got the Alcremie VMAX here with, honestly, 2 really good attacks. Adornment, really solid option in this early post-rotation format. For a colorless, for each of your benched Pokemon, search your deck for a Psychic Energy card and attach it to that Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. So just gets a bunch more energy in play so that we can power up both G-Max Whisk and the Max Geist. Something you do have to keep in mind, though, is it takes those energies out of the deck, obviously, so those are not things that we can accelerate with Underworld Door, which is kind of our main draw engine with the deck, of course. And then, of course, I've mentioned it a few times, but we just got to go over it. G-Max Whisk for 2 Psychic dealing no damage off the bat for base damage, and then discard any amount of energy from your Pokemon. This attack does 60 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So this is really just kind of our big swing at the end of the game to one-hit KO of VMAX. It can also be really good, like I said, against Galarian Moltres, which will surely be a pretty popular option right now at the start of the format. But we're also going to be playing 2 copies of Crobat V with the Dark Asset ability. Too good not to play, I think. I was just playing 1 copy, and then in some test hands, I was like, man, it would be nice in the end game for me to have a second copy of this card available to just keep digging, and that's exactly why I decided to play the second copy of this card. Dark Asset, just too strong of an ability to omit ever, and so we're going to be playing 2 copies of that card. And then one more new card here from Evolving Skies. We've got Galarian Articuno with 120 HP. And it's not here to attack. It's really just here for the ability. Cruel Charge. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may attach up to 2 Psychic Energy cards from your hand to this Pokemon. So it really is just to accelerate some extra energy. And this is great to allow us to get to a G-Max Whisk a little quicker and maybe boost the damage of G-Max Whisk. It boosts the damage of Max Geist. It's also an option for us to get more Psychic Energies in play without having to put another Shadow Rider VMAX in play. So like against something like a Galarian Moltres deck, we don't have to risk leaving that around. We just have Galarian Articuno to kind of give us those extra energy excel options we need. And that's all I have for the Pokemon right now. Now, obviously, you look at this lineup and you're going to see we lose pretty badly to Decidueye, and Decidueye is definitely something that I think could pop up here in the post-rotation format. Whenever people aren't respecting Decidueye as a deck, that's when it tends to do the best, when people aren't playing one-prize attackers, when people aren't playing things like Phoebe in their deck, and as you can see, we're not playing any one-prize attackers. I mean, Articuno can attack. I guess I should mention that. Psy Laser, discard all Psychic Energy from this Pokemon, and then this attack does 120 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, but that's really not going to be great against Decidueye, especially since it's only a one of and it gets knocked out, and it doesn't even knock out Decidueye in return. So I definitely would consider adding something like Cresselia or some other psychic attacker to help us in that specific matchup, if Decidueye does become popular. But for now, we're going to stick with this list. We've also got 4 copies of Professor's Research here. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Good old Research. Not going anywhere anytime soon. The best draw supporter in the standard format, and so we're going to be playing 4 copies of it. And then we've got ourselves 3 copies of Marnie, of course. Great disruption option, but also a solid draw option as well. This card is specifically really good as well in this deck because we have a lot of draw outside of the Marnie. So we can, like Marnie, we only get 5 cards, but then we can just Underworld Door, and start advancing our hand size and really get a lot of card advantage against our opponent. So for that reason, I would honestly consider adding a 4th Marnie in, and I think the easiest thing to cut would be one of these 4 copies of Boss's Orders. I definitely could see going to 3 copies of this just for the 4th Marnie here, but for now, 4 Boss does seem pretty good. Just letting us be aggressive after our opponent's Pokemon. We're going to be 2-hit KOing a lot of stuff, specifically in the early game, so having multiple Boss's Orders to just try to clean up these things that we've hit for a little bit of damage early on, I think is a good option. But like I said, maybe changing this for a Marnie could be solid. But for now, I've got the 4 Boss's Orders. And then now we're going to move on to the consistency, the search cards, which we are trying to be very, very consistent with this deck. 4 copies of Quick Ball. Discard a card from your hand, and then search your deck for a basic Pokemon. Put it into your hand. Of course, we want to get our bunch of Shadow Riders in play right away. We want to get our All Creamies in play at the right time. We want to be able to draw cards with Crobat, and then, of course, it can find the Galarian Articuno. And then we've also got 4 copies of the Fog Crystal, one of the best cards for Psychic-type decks right now, for sure. Search your deck for a Psychic Energy card or a basic Psychic Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this becomes like an energy search for us to get one of our many Psychic Energies out of the deck to accelerate with Underworld Door. It lets us get multiple basics in play early on in the game. Fog Crystal really is just one of the best consistency options for this deck. And then we've got 4 copies of Evolution Incense. We want to get those VMAXs in play. Just getting VMAXs in play is what activates this deck, what makes it consistent, what lets it draw cards. So we want to get those in play as quickly as humanly possible. We've got ourselves 2 copies of Switch as well. We want to have quite a bit of mobility. We got some air balloons in here as well we'll get to, but just having a couple switching options. You know, we can only Underworld Door to Pokemon that are on the bench. So having that mobility is really key at specific instances. And then a couple of recovery cards. We got 1 Ordinary Rod. We get to choose one or both. Shuffle up to 2 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. Shuffle up to 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. This is really good. You know, if we ever have to discard a couple VMAXs early on, or even a VMAX early on, maybe we have to discard a Crobat early, the Articuno. We want to get these cards back and, you know, start trying to utilize them again. And then, of course, also putting energy back in the deck is very good. And speaking of getting back energy, we've got an energy retrieval as well. Put up to 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. I'm not 100% sure on this card. I am only playing, we'll get to it here in a second, but 3 copies of Training Court. I definitely could see energy retrieval just becoming a 4th Training Court. Maybe Training Court is just a better card. Maybe that is just a better option, something to think about for sure. But for now, we're trying out the energy retrieval just because I like the burst it gives you. You get back so many more energies to work with the Underworld Door. You get them into your hand immediately. So I think it is a decent option. And it also combos really well with the Galarian Articuno if we need it in that instance. We got 3 Air Balloon. I already talked about how important the mobility can be in this deck. We can only Underworld Door to the bench, so having several Air Balloon is really good for that. And then we've got 3 Training Court to close out all the cards besides energy in this deck. Training Court, really great card for us to get back Psychic Energy that have been discarded, but it's also great to bump Path to the Peak, which I think is something that could definitely be a big problem for this deck early on in the format, depending on how many decks are playing Path to the Peak, how well they're utilizing Path to the Peak. You know, just having that response is definitely key. I don't know how popular Path to the Peak will be at the start of the format, but it does seem like a card that is good against a lot of the decks that people are playing right now. So you definitely want to keep a lot of stadiums around for that reason. And like I said, I would maybe consider changing the energy retrieval just for the 4th Training Court if Path to the Peak really is that huge. Also, another huge thing to think about is the new Pumpkaboo from Evolving Skies. I think that is a solid option as a tech Pokemon as well. Not for an attack, but for its ability, which when you bench it, it allows you to discard a stadium in play. So I have thought about playing 1 copy of that card in here just so it's an out off of Fog Crystal, out off of Quick Ball in order for us to discard something like the Path to the Peak that our opponent could have in play. But that is, yeah, that's going to do it for the deck here. We've just got 12 Psychic Energies to finish things off. Playing a little bit lower counts than maybe some of the pre-rotation decks, but that's because we're playing the heavy Training Courts. We've got energy retrieval, and I think that is totally fine. 12 seems to be the number that I've seen from a lot of lists. A lot of people seem to gravitate towards that, but yeah, here is the deck, and this has been really consistent for me. I've only played a couple of games of post-rotation, but I've tested a lot of opening hands with this deck, and it does set up very consistently. And if your deck is not consistent, it's not going to be good in the Pokemon trading card game. So as long as the deck can be consistent, yeah, there it is. So let me know what you guys think of this deck list down in the comments down below. I'm going to go give you guys a thumbs up. Go ahead and get yourself a screenshot of the deck list if you want it, so that way you can save it and build it for yourself. And let me know what you're thinking post-rotation. What are some cards you're liking, some decks you are hoping to build, and what are you kind of leaning towards right now? Be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, as always, like I said, and subscribe to see more Pokemon TCG videos. And, of course, you can follow me over on Twitter as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to get out of here, and until next time, guys, take care.